I'll just sit here like a queen.
We made
it. We made it.
Is GarageBand recording? Oh, fuck me up.
Oh, sorry. We cuss on this podcast, Rachel.
Oh, good. Yeah, that's good to know.
Okay. Is it going?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know.
Shoo.
Woo! We're here. Hi.
I know.
I'm so excited. I love your book.
Same.
Oh my God.
Thank you so much.
Love
I really
it.
appreciate that.
Love it, love it. I cannot wait to make some of these in the back.
Okay.
Yay.
Oh, I'm so excited. Okay.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I think so.
Okay.
Rachel, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Welcome to the shit show.
Ready
Welcome
when
to
you
the shit
guys
show.
are.
All right.
Okay.
Welcome.
Welcome to What the Body.
What the Body.
I'm Caitlin.
I'm Jess. And this is Rachael Hartley.
Whoop, whoop.
Welcome, welcome.
Hello.
Rachel,
Thanks.
yeah, she's a dietitian with a book called Gentle Nutrition. And it is a non-diet approach to healthy eating. You have a blog, and we will let everybody know how to get you before we get off here.
Absolutely.
But we are so happy to have you. Welcome.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I am just so thrilled to be here chatting with you guys.
Yay.
Yay.
Absolutely. We are very thankful. As a person who does not believe in diets, and a lot of us don't, I really, really appreciate your approach to the words that you're using, how you talk about food, how you talk about bodies. I just think it's really fascinating. And I'll be honest, I knew that people were out there. And it's hard to kind of find people like yourself.
Yeah, my friend just sent me
Yeah.
her and said you have to reach out to her. She's amazing.
Yeah. And you are. So I'm very excited to have you today.
Rachel, we were texting
Totally
each other
fangirling.
like little bits from your book all weekend.
Literally all weekend. Did you read this bit yet? Yeah. So it's sort of like our own book club, but we're just, you know, just us. It's just a two-person club.
I love that. I know it's an audio format, but so nobody is seeing all my very delighted faces that I'm making in reaction to hearing that.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Well,
Good.
we would love to hear from you, sort of a summary of your background and how you got here. I mean, I read about it, but yeah.
I know it's so interesting to think about. So yeah, gosh, I guess I've been a dietitian for, oh my goodness, I have to do the math now, maybe like 15, 16, something like that years. Yeah. And so, was trained in a very sort of like traditional dietetics model, the very, usual kind of calories and like, portion control and like weight centric. And, certainly looking back and reflecting, I'm like, oh yeah, there were parts of that really didn't sit well with me. But it was really about, I guess, probably 8, 9, 10 years ago that I started kind of learning more about non-diet approaches and reflecting on my own clinical practice and realizing, what I'm doing is that actually helping people, and I think I actually might be causing some harm. I don't know that this is exactly what I'm doing. So this really kind of slow learning process from there. It's but I'm so grateful I stumbled across like other non-diet people to kind of open my eyes to there's another way to do this.
Heck yeah. Well, and just the society that we live in, it's steeped in diet culture. It's, growing up, we were taught that our bodies are more valuable when they're smaller. And like, there's just so much to unpack, let alone the aspect of like
Food.
Food is squiggly.
Yeah.
Food is, we felt
Hard.
shameful about food for so long.
Yep.
And you're fat because you like food too much, or
Stop
you
eating so
stop
much.
eating so much. Like, just there's so much around it. And so I want to know kind of your initial thing that made you think, wow, I am doing a little harm. Like, was there like a catalyst? Was there like an exact moment for you?
Yeah, no, I really wish that like there was this like one thing that happened where it's like, aha, and like here's the way to do it. But I think it was really much more of a process of gradually kind of like these little seeds being planted and kind of like questioning things and like, I despite being someone who, teaches intuitive eating, I don't necessarily always think of myself as like an intuitive person. And yet, like, there was this part of me that was like, I just like feel icky with what I'm doing right now. And I
Yeah,
don't
you
quite
knew.
understand why. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like, I don't quite know what it is. And
Oh,
so, I think it was both this process of like, sitting with that discomfort and getting curious with that discomfort, and probably a lot of like me just thinking to myself, like, oh, maybe I'm just a really bad dietitian and I shouldn't be doing this. But when I started learning more and
Yeah.
like seeing, like reading and learning from other people that help kind of give me some language to like, oh, here's this other approach. It was this kind of like gradual shift over, like
Yeah.
gradual and then very fast kind of
Yeah. Yeah.
shift, I
Yeah.
yeah.
guess.
Yeah. Oh,
That's
I love
lovely.
that.
Yeah, I love intuitive eating.
So, for
Yeah,
the people who don't know
go
what
ahead.
intuitive eating is,
Yes.
could you maybe define that? I think
Perfect.
there's some weird assumptions around intuitive eating. There's a lot of myths and just bad stigma around it. And I, from somebody who does this professionally, define it for us so people understand what intuitive eating is.
Right. So yes. So intuitive eating, it is this non-diet approach to feeding yourself. And when we say non-diet, we really mean like the end goal, the sort of like the aim of intuitive eating is not to lose weight. It's not to manipulate your body size. Like, the goal is really building a healthier relationship with food and your body, and feeding yourself in a way that mentally and physically feels good for you. And so, I always kind of tell people like, hey, it is, what we're sort of doing with intuitive eating. Like, I think people think of it as like, oh, you're just kind of listening to your body. And then they're like, okay, body, wait, I'm not hearing anything. Like,
Yeah.
so,
Bueller or anybody there? Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
okay, wait, is someone
Yeah.
supposed to be there to tell
Yeah.
me what to do? But yeah, it's really this process where, over time, you are unlearning the things from diet culture that,
Yeah.
the overblown, the inaccurate information we've picked up with diet culture,
Yeah.
and learning to tap in with your body and get in tune with its needs. And also slowly replacing that kind of like diet culture, quote unquote, knowledge with like actual evidence-based information about food. And that's kind of where, gentle nutrition in my book that kind of focuses in on the nutrition aspect comes in. Because it's not that like we're only like, our body is one piece of information, but we can also make decisions about feeding ourselves that we feel good with when we have information that's presented in like a flexible way, in an individualized way, in a
Yeah.
supportive way. So yeah, so I think that was like a very long definition. But
No. I think it's important because we started this podcast to have conversations about bodies and what
Yes.
bodies do, and to kind of debunk the myths and the stigmas around how all of our bodies are so different and how we have to feed our bodies different. And that is, I think, something that people struggle with, because when we think of like dietitians in general, oftentimes there's a lot of trauma for people that have lived in bodies like mine. There's a lot of trauma around that because like having an eating disorder, the only thing I felt like I could control was my intake. And so it is triggering when you start to talk about intake and the foods that you're eating and things like that. Sometimes it can be a little triggering. And so to have somebody in the world
ooh, a
like
dietitian.
you,
Ooh.
yeah, who talks about it
Yeah.
in such a way that feels like, oh, it's just so different, I think is really important. And knowing what it is and how it can help people.
And I think it's really interesting when you said, you learned how the cultural obsession with thinness stems from a fear of fatness that's based on harmful and inaccurate stereotypes, and how these beliefs directly contribute to the inhumane treatment of larger bodied individuals, especially in the healthcare system.
Yes.
It's just like one aha chilling moment after the other in this book. I loved it.
Yeah.
And you say diets don't work. There's a whole section. Why diets aren't the answer. Talk about that.
yeah, oh my goodness. So, there is, this idea of, oh gosh, I'm like, how diets don't work? Like, oh my gosh, like, how do I boil all that stuff
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
big one.
It's a big one.
Because it is, but we're sort of taught this myth that we can control our body size, like the same way that, just like if you're eating the right amount of, the air quote, right amount of food or the quote unquote right things, then we can achieve like, whatever body size we want or like within certain limits.
Right.
And really, like when we look at the research on dieting, we just haven't found any single sustainable method that promotes like long-term weight loss. It's just not like that doesn't mean that there's no like unicorns out there that have figured out a way to like eat and lose weight and keep it off. Like there are some people out there,
Right.
and cool for them, but like it's not like the typical response. And so when we look at the research around dieting, really what we find is that not only do most people gain back the weight that they lost on their diet within a few years, but 60% gain back more weight than what they lost in the first place. And it's not that weight gain is wrong or bad. Or, isn't that wild?
That's wild.
Yeah, and it's not that like weight gain is this bad or wrong thing. It's just that diets aren't doing what they're being sold as, what they're being marketed as. So,
being sold is the key thing. It's a $70 billion industry.
Yeah.
Like it really is just about capitalism at that point. It's a commodity that's sold with a promise of something that is not obtainable. It's just you might as well just flush it down the toilet. Like, that's not possible. I've done every fucking diet in the book.
I know a lot of our listeners are relating to you 100% on this.
Yeah. Like Weight Watchers, keto, I mean, you name it, anorexia, eating disorder as well.
Yeah.
Like I've tried them all on.
Mail order food that's processed and frozen. And all of that.
Yeah. And it totally takes the joy out of food. And the second I started eating intuitively and listening to the cravings, like not avoiding cravings.
Right.
The craving's not going to go away. You're just going to eat around it and then you're still going to eat the craving anyways. Like teaching my body that, hey, if you're asking for something, you'll get it. Right. And I think the general assumption when people hear intuitive eating is, oh, well, you'll just choose to eat hot dogs, cookies, cake all day, every day. But our bodies don't crave that.
No.
It's like a puppy that gets food for the first time. Like you might do that once or twice, and you're gonna be like, "Whew, that didn't feel very good coming out," right? Like so, I was a little, but yeah, I think that's just the general myth or the assumption is that intuitive eating is just you're gonna eat whatever, and it's not. It's clearly not.
Yeah, and it's and when someone is in that honeymoon phase, because I want to validate for anyone out there who is trying to eat more intuitively, like that phase where like maybe you are eating in a not so balanced way. You're just giving yourself permission with these foods, and so you haven't like kind of like the puppy, you haven't kind of discovered your own sort of like way of like your own sort of internal limitations and like what feels good for you physically, mentally. Like like that honeymoon phase can be a really uncomfortable place to be, and it's also a really important phase of healing your relationship with food. Like it's scary, and for some people it can last a good bit of time. Like it's not like one time I ate too many donuts and then I had a stomach ache and now I'm an intuitive eater. Like, it can be a process. And so I just want to really name that that's an uncomfortable place but important.
And then you talk about are you choking? We're choking. Okay. All right. Good.
No.
We're good. We're going to get there. Okay. Welcome to What the Body. Welcome. The body does all kinds of stuff.
I am so sorry. I just got really excited about a point.
Well, we are off to a good start. I know that. And then you go into, is your healthy lifestyle a diet in disguise? Followed up immediately with body respect, body acceptance, body trust, body love.
Yeah. Talk to us about that.
Yeah. So the idea, I think there's this myth that in order to be a more intuitive eater, you have to like love your body. And I totally get where that comes from, because unfortunately the very like Instagram kind of like, whitewashed version of body positivity and intuitive eating is like, like, oh, I love my curves. Like if you eat this like cookie, and like it can feel very, it can make intuitive eating feel very off limits for people who might be in a deep place of hatred. Like maybe it's someone who, has experienced trauma. Maybe it's someone who, has, is being oppressed on a societal level. Like there's a lot of reasons why people can feel deeply, deeply uncomfortable in their body. And the idea of like, oh, I have to love my body in order to eat intuitively, just, it doesn't make intuitive eating very accessible. So I always talk about like, the starting place for intuitive eating is not body love. It's just body respect, trying to treat your body with respect. Like you might not like your body. You might really significantly dislike everything about it, but y'all are together forever.
Yeah.
Like, that is one thing that y'all
You
are
are
stuck
in a
together, no
relationship.
matter. Yeah. You're in the world's longest like group project. And so you got to figure out how to make it work.
You do.
And so how can you treat yourself with some respect? And I think even people in this world that like, I don't know, I can think of some people I don't really like very much. I still think they deserve enough food.
Yes, right.
Very much that.
Yeah.
So what do you tell when you're working with clients who operate in that space of like, I've restricted my eating, I've been on diets my whole life because I want my body to look a certain way. When you start eating intuitively, sometimes your body can change. Is there any... Do you like preload that into the equation when you're talking to somebody about intuitive eating? Do you help them navigate that? Like, how does that look in your world?
Oh, yeah, it can look a lot of different ways because body changes with intuitive eating are not like, it's not an unusual thing. We talk about like, your body is going to do one of three things with intuitive eating. It's going to get smaller, bigger, or stay the same size. And, it's not always a predictable, like, a predictable thing.
Yeah.
And so, it's definitely something we talk about in advance. And it's very much like an ongoing conversation, a lot of just like validation. Because the reality is like, we do live in a world where there's a lot of like social capital and thinness, where there's a lot of oppression of higher weight bodies. And like the fact that like someone might not want to gain weight, like that's like, of course, like what, like, that's not a surprising thing. And I wish there was like one single thing that you could say to someone, like, to help them feel comfortable with that. But it's really just a lot of validation.
And I definitely think it's the disassociation of our worth being tied to our exterior.
Yeah.
And when I'm working with clients, specifically in my studio, we have a whole conversation before our shoot about it. I guarantee you're not going to love every photo. Your body is just a tool that gets you from point A to point B, and it's going to change. It's not going to look this way tomorrow. It's going to look different tomorrow, and that's okay. Every single one of those phases is still worthy and deserving of respect and dope images, right? So it's that same principle of, yes, our bodies are intended to change. They're just trying to keep us alive. And so I think that to me has always been such a big thing, is that once I realized that my body actually didn't define me and didn't define my worth as a human in this space, that really helped. It helped a lot.
It's hard because then you have to navigate that all day, every day.
You do. And you have to wake up and actively choose to not hate your body.
Yeah.
Like, you have to make it a choice. I don't care if you love it, but you need to decide that you are deserving of the respect and love that you give to other people. You are worthy of that as well. And it's hard some days. Some days you wake up and you're like, I'm a potato today. I'm a potato. So I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
Body image is a fluctuating thing. It's not like you reach this magical place of self-love and it's like, yay, I did it.
I'm at the top of the mountain. Yeah, I'm never going to get knocked down. You're like, the next day you wake up and it's raining outside and you're like, I'm back in the pits. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, bodies change. Like, look at a nursing home, and like, we know that throughout our life, our body is going to change.
Yes.
So,
Yeah. That's not the message that we're sold, though, huh?
No.
We're told that we can't age, can't gain weight, can't.
No. I mean, big or small. I was just telling you the other day, like, my body has changed. I'm turning 45 in like 3 weeks, and I'm not a plus size person, but my body has changed, and I put on my pants and they don't fit. And I eventually just went online and ordered jeans that was a size up, because guess what? It's fine. I don't have to be uncomfortable in my jeans because I need to fit in that size.
Yeah.
And joy was brought to the land because I'm not uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So honestly, I wasn't going to stop eating. I wasn't going to, I know I'm older, and you've helped me realize so many things, and it's like we're not gonna cut food. We're not gonna do that. Food is joy.
right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say jeans that you can like both sit and stand in comfortably
That's
are
it.
like and eat in are like a glorious thing.
Yes.
Yes.
So
And
I'm
that,
glad you did that.
yes, that's hard to do. And we're always said that people are always taught that like your body is intended to fit clothes, and it's the other way around. Like clothes are built to fit your body. If your body changes, go buy some new clothes.
Yeah.
Go to a thrift store.
Nothing's wrong with you if you
Consign.
size up.
Yeah, just
Hello.
the numbers don't matter. The numbers don't matter. We both are foodies. Like this
Big
one,
time.
this one especially. If you ever want a good meal, just call her because she knows the exact spot and the exact dish to eat, right? And both of us, the part that you say, pay attention to how food makes you feel.
Yeah.
Like both from like a physical standpoint, but also from like a joy standpoint. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, so pleasure is definitely an aspect of healthy eating that I think gets overlooked. We can eat a meal that has, I don't know, like enough like calories and carbs and fats and proteins, and it's like, enough food for us to eat. But if it's not something that feels satiating on a emotional level, like it's not going to hit the spot. Like
Yeah.
you're probably still going to feel like emotionally hungry or taste hungry for more food. You're still going to be thinking about food. It's hard to like turn off that drive to eat when you're not emotionally satiated.
Right.
And so thinking about like, not just how do we eat like, enough food, but also how can we integrate pleasure. And that's not to say that every meal has to be like a gourmet eating experience.
Right, sure.
Like it's certainly like that would be quite hard to,
Right.
to make happen.
Right.
But like we can also bring pleasure into eating because our mental health, that's health too. And
Yes,
so
it
if you're
is.
feeling
Very much.
deprived,
Yeah.
that has an impact.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
food
know.
got me through COVID, and I made it a project to buy every fruit and vegetable and on the land and like come up with recipes and just like cut things and make new stuff and look stuff up. It was just like that brought me so much joy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. As a single person, some days it feels like such a chore
Yeah.
to feed myself. And trying to navigate that has been hard recently for me. Of like, you can make food and then freeze it.
Yeah.
And you can batch make stuff. And so you'll have yummy meals that you can pull out.
Yeah.
That's been really fascinating and fun for me is like making food that brings me joy, but then also having it for later too. And having the right Tupperware and just dumb stuff that,
Making it fun. Making it easy and fun.
yeah.
You talk about weight is not health and why BMI is bullshit. And I
We love to hear it.
just want to announce that we have a dietitian on here who says weight is not health and BMI is bullshit. So
It's pretty badass.
floor is yours.
Yes.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Is BMI ever some bullshit? So I always talk to clients about like the history of BMI, and I've got like a little section in the book. But basically, like BMI was not developed as a health measuring tool the way that it's used today. It was actually developed by a mathematician in the 1800s, 1700s, who was studying like, and actually a like eugenicist, so like not an awesome kind of dude, but basically he was trying to figure out a way to measure the average man. Note that I'm saying average man, not average woman, but the average man. And so, he took a group of, I believe it was like, I think it was like Dutch or like French soldiers. So it's all like white men in their like 20s and 30s and probably frankly late teens at that point too.
Right.
And like measured height and weight and tried to use that to come up with a statistical formula to where you could measure what is the, if you have a bell curve, like what is that point in the middle? And so like we use this thing that was not developed to say what someone should weigh, what their healthy body size is. And this very like, I mean, gosh, you go to like any doctor's office and like pretty much all of them will have a BMI chart. It's so ubiquitous.
Yeah.
When you get the printout with your labs, like what does it say? Like your labs and then your weight and your height and your BMI. And, yet that's not what it was designed for.
Right.
So I think it's really important that we take those numbers as like a major grain of salt.
Smart.
Very smart.
We are not men.
We're not men.
So there's that.
I also think BMI is used a lot of times as a way to restrict and shame individuals, especially through like procedures and doctor's visits and things like that. You know, it's all just kind of part of the system that we just kind of accept, which makes me so sad. Makes me so sad.
It's infuriating when you learn like how BMI is used to like deny people care and like the actual impacts. Like it would be one thing if it's like this, I don't know, this like just kind of number that we don't put any I don't know, that doesn't really mean anything, but it does. You know, it's not just the like the labeling of someone as quote unquote overweight or quote unquote obese is like harmful enough in just like the naming and the labeling. But then when you think about people can't get access to like certain reproductive health care if their BMI is above a certain amount, like, oh, but we can give you a bariatric surgery, but we can't like,
okay,
you can't get
thank
IVF,
you.
know?
Yes. Tell us.
Wow.
Tell us.
Yeah.
Yes. It's infuriating.
Surgeries.
Yes.
I mean, there's so many things, and it's like, wait, you can do bariatric surgery, but you can't like do this actual like
life
Help
altering, help me have a child surgery. Like what? Yeah. No, I very much agree with you on that.
I really love your plate planning for satisfaction.
Thank
This
you.
is
Thank you.
this is money. Can you tell the listeners about that?
Sure. Yep. So one thing that I find when I'm working with clients who, you know, are trying to relearn how to feed themselves is that so much of how they have conceptualized like building a meal or planning a meal is based in diet culture. You know, they have been dieting as long as they know. And so it's like when intuitive eating is saying, hey, let's like feed yourself enough food, it's like, I don't know what that actually looks like.
Yeah.
So I have a few different models in there that are just like, because there's not one like right or wrong way, and these are very like imperfect tools. There's, you know, a lot of different types of foods that don't fit quite as like easily into a plate approach, but you know, it's one way that we can visualize like what does it look like to have enough food on your plate, what does it look like to be getting, you know, fat and protein and carbs and some produce, and like how can we adjust that based on like different needs and different hunger levels.
Speaking of hunger levels, that's the page that I have open. That was really, really hard for me to understand, because as a child, we're taught to clear our plate.
That's true.
And not that they did anything wrong, right? But we never had the conversation of, are you hungry? Are you full? What does that feel like to be hungry or to be full? Talk to us about that. Like, is that an important piece of this? Is that like, how do you retrain your brain to know the difference? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, we are, whether it is food rules growing up, like, you know, clean your plate club kind of stuff, or, you know, dieting, which tells us like, you know, don't listen to your hunger cues, like just chew gum or, you know, drink some water.
Drink some water and chew gum. I was a mint girl, but yes.
Yeah, go for a walk.
Distract yourself. Yeah.
We sort of learn to ignore our body's signals. And what can happen is we kind of lose touch with them. I use this analogy with my clients where like you imagine you have a friend and they're like calling you and texting you and you're like not answering the phone, you're not responding. So eventually they're going to be like, well, you're a shitty friend. I'm going to stop like trying to reach out.
Yeah.
And so what we're doing with intuitive eating is we're actually trying to jumpstart, like rebuild that trust by feeding our body. And over time, our body is going to build the security and be like, oh, okay, you're actually there for me again. Like maybe you were this kind of shitty friend for a while.
Yeah.
You're there for me now.
That's incredible.
We built up this trust. And so
I love that.
our body will start, isn't that a fun little
That's
analogy?
a great one.
That's such a good
Mind
visual.
blown.
Oh my gosh. You're right, because we just hit ignore for years and years and years and years and years. Whoa, I like that one.
Yeah, our body is still there. Like it still wants the best for us. Like all it really wants is for us to survive. And part of that is to be fed adequately.
Yeah, yeah. And when you're eating a lot, you're more hungry. Like when I'm eating the appropriate amount of food, I'm like ready for my next snack and my next meal. You know, and our bodies know like I can rely on you to actually feed me when I'm asking you to feed me. And that is always wild to me. Like right now, I'm not doing great, but It's just because we got a lot going on. I'm choking on water. I'm failing forward right now. But when you are paying attention, it's just like, oh, it's such a good feeling. It's such a good feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So plate planning for satisfaction, but also cooking. And the second half of your book is yummy recipes that I cannot wait to try.
Do you have a favorite?
Yeah.
Ooh, yes, I do love the one. Maybe it's just because I'm kind of craving it right now, but there's like a harissa chicken that's like with one pan, and it's got like rice and like yummy spices in there. So that is a favorite of mine. It's funny. There's a salmon one in there that's like another kind of one dish meal with like squash and beans and stuff, and lots of dill and lemon.
Oh.
And like I get so much good feedback on that, but like I will tell you that recipe took me so long to get the temperature right that I'm like, oh, I hate that one.
Do you? I just bought salmon and I have dill at
It's
the
a
house.
labor of love that she wants you to know she worked hard on that temp.
Yes.
I love
really,
that.
People love it, but it was one that like I had so much freaking salmon.
Yeah, I was going to say, so when you're testing these, are you making them for people, or are you like just kitchen testing and eating and testing and eating? Like, how does that work for you?
Both. So I'm pretty good because I've been doing some recipe development for quite a few years
Yeah.
now. So I'm pretty good at like kind of knowing like how to put together a recipe. So I usually don't have to like do them that many times.
Right.
But yeah, everything in there was tested at least twice. I did have some like little taste testers who like made the recipes on their own and like reported back to me, gave me their feedback. So yeah, I kind of enlisted some friends for that one.
I love that. I'm a creative myself, so when there are pretty photos of yummy looking food, I'm more inclined to cook.
Yeah.
I'm more inclined to make it. It's the same thing when you're ordering at a restaurant. Like if there's a photo, I'm more inclined to buy. I'm just such a visual person.
Well, and also this feels safe, right? There's a dietitian who doesn't believe in diets who has provided recipes, and I'm like, I'm in. I'm going to plan all these out. And
it's for sure an empowered space.
Yeah. It's like your trusted grandmother and all of her recipes, right? It's like the safe place of like joy.
Yeah. I also love that there's pasta options and vegetarian options and different snack ideas. And like, it's not there's no carbs in this book. There's no calorie. It's like, let's eat some yummy, yummy food. You know,
mushroom ragu,
I wanted
potato.
to like show people how to put gentle nutrition into action. Like, what does it look like to integrate some nutrition, but not have it be like, oh, we're integrating nutrition to the point of where this isn't like an enjoyable thing to eat. So so like for example, with like the pasta, I have like one that has like 3 different pasta sauces, and I talk a little bit about like, oh, what are some different sauces that pair well with like whole grain pasta, and like what are sauces that like actually don't really taste good with whole grain pasta, and like if you do like a creamy sauce with like whole grains, like it kind of actually tastes a little bit gross. So talked a little bit about that.
I love that.
Just a fun way to bring it in.
I love that.
So outside of intuitive eating, what does gentle nutrition mean to you?
Yeah, so gentle nutrition, just for context for anyone who is like new to intuitive eating, it is the last principle of intuitive eating. That last principle of the process is honor your health with gentle nutrition. And the reason that the dietitians who developed intuitive eating, the reason that they put it for last is because like oftentimes when we haven't quite done the work healing our relationship with food, when we when we try to bring in nutrition too early, it can kind of turn it into a diet, rather than it being this thing stemming from self-care and taking care of ourselves.
I love that.
So I really think about gentle nutrition as like, it is what nutrition looks like when we're approaching it from a place of, trying to help ourselves feel better, like trying to support our well-being, not in service of attaining a certain body size. So, so there's still like, sometimes intuitive eating has this like, there's this myth of it being like anti-health or like anti-nutrition. Yeah, and it's not. It's like there's nutrition science is still nutrition science. It's just that like when we interpret it it like not with the outcome of like losing weight, but
Right.
from like actual support of physical health and well-being, like,
Yeah.
we might approach nutrition a little bit differently in that case.
Right. Right. I think a lot of, how do I say this the right way? A lot of the stuff that we're taught growing up, A, was bullshit, but B, I wasn't aware that the food pyramids and the things that we were force fed as children were actually things that they were paying, the industries themselves were paying to have taught to us. Mm-hmm. And you grow up and you start to realize these things and you're like, dang, my whole life was kind of a lie. And it was force fed to us in a way that you have to unravel that before you can even start to think about eating intuitively and eating when your body asks you to. Like the gallons of milk that we drank as children. Ugh. I hate milk.
Disgusting.
But it's good for your bones. It's this, that, and the other. Like if I never smelt milk again, I would be happy. Like we were just, it was like we were collectively being lied to and gaslit to for so many years. That when you come around and we hear words that you're saying about eating intuitively and being gentle in the process, we're kind of like, are you another lie? Are you, where's the bait and switch? Because we know it's coming. And in reality, it doesn't, right? No. It's not like, oh, we got you in the intuitive eating and now we're going to switch and you got to lose weight. Like it's just, it's so refreshing to see that that isn't happening and that it's just a space, an empowered space for you to feel like, okay, I'm not, for the first time ever, I'm not being gaslit. I think that was a big deal for me, especially around food. The other thing that I have a question for you on, morality around food. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I do. Do you have like more specifically what you're kind of thinking of? Or?
So the things that come to mind are you have to finish your salad before you can have dessert. There is the goods and the bads. So the really high value foods, you have to eat another food first before you can get this really high value food, right? So like the morality of good and bad and more weight being placed on one than the other. And I don't even know if that's morality, but you see where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
No, I asked for clarification because I was just having a conversation before about like ethics and like, food consumption and like vegetarianism and veganism.
Yeah.
Freshly on my mind.
Yes.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely like morality. We assign moral values to food, this idea of like, and I think this is another place where intuitive eating can be a very, I think can be hard for some people to wrap their head around when we say there's no good foods and bad foods, because people hear that and they're like, well, surely some foods are better than others. Some foods are like healthier than others. And so what I think is really important for us to remember is that like, yes, there are certain foods that might have more vitamins and minerals and nutrients in them than other foods. That is like 1000% accurate. And there may be certain foods that have, certain sort of like benefits or what's the word I'm looking for, that might have like certain things about them that are beneficial. Like that is, and similarly, like you could have a food that maybe for certain people, like, I don't know if you're allergic to peanuts, like
right.
It's harmful.
Like,
Actually harmful.
Bad.
Yeah.
But really what I'd like to remind clients of is that nutrition isn't the only, like, that's not the only factor in deciding whether a food is going to be a healthy choice for you in the moment. I often use an example of like thinking of like runners, when you have runners who are doing their like, their 5K or their half marathon or their marathon or whatever, like what are they chugging or what are they taking with them? Those little gel packets. And what are those little energy gel packets? They're sugar.
Yeah.
That's because like for that specific purpose, like, is that little gel packet like packed with vitamins and minerals and fiber? Like, no, it's not necessarily a nutrient dense food, but it serves a purpose.
Right.
And even outside of fitness, like I think about, I don't know, I was using this example with a client the other day, but just the way my day was kind of like laid out, I had like a later end. I knew I was going to be having this later dinner. I was really hungry. I was starting to notice like my blood sugar dipping before this last client, but I knew like I was going to be cooking dinner right afterwards. I didn't want to have like a big snack where I was going to be stuffed. Like the best thing for me to quickly get my blood sugar up was I had these little like sesame breadstick pretzel-y kind of rods that were really dope, and like it's white flour, like whatever though, that was what got my blood sugar up, helped me stay comfortable and focused in that session. And when I finished up and it was like time for dinner, I was like hungry to eat like a more satisfying meal. And so all food has a purpose. That doesn't mean that like something is good or bad. It's just that like we can respect the different like benefits and maybe even drawbacks of different foods and use that to inform our food choices.
Yeah.
It is medically necessary for me to pack and stack hangry snacks.
Yo, this woman right here.
I go from here to here.
She's a gremlin. I have not ever seen like
fast.
And she scurries everywhere. She's very little compared to me. So especially when she's hungry, she goes into this like gremlin hyperdrive of like, like it's just where's the snacks? Literally. What did you say the other day? I gotta eat. We gotta eat right now.
Yeah, I don't give a shit about white flour. Give me whatever's in that bag over there.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's every single time it happens, it's funny. But yes, she is.
To you.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Damage control. It's okay. She's just hungry. It's okay. We will get her back. I promise.
And then I'm fine.
I have a client who her husband would like recognize when she was getting hungry, like before she did. She was like in eating disorder recovery, and so he would just like straight up pull a bar out of his he'd be like, "Honey, I think you need a snack."
Yeah.
My DMs are open for those kinds of men, please.
Yes.
If you want to carry around food and hand it to me, then I might want to date you.
Look, I'm telling you, if I say the words "I'm hungry," we needed to stop the car an hour ago.
It's
like,
too late.
Get off the bus. Yes, no, it's not. It is not a good look.
That's what I from now on, I'm going to be like, would you be able to recognize if I was hungry before I do?
It's going to be a new dating.
Wow. There's a lot of epiphanies happening on this episode.
At least we know. At least we know we're like that. Like, whew, it's a downhill slope.
Yeah. I mean, listen, this book is life. Tell me about the difference. Tell me about your blog. What are you talking about there? What do you gravitate to in your blog?
Yeah. So, oh my goodness. So I started blogging like when I was in this kind of like phase of I hate my job. I'm working as an outpatient dietitian in like a large medical center. I feel like there's something else out there and I don't really like know what it is. So let me just create a blog and just like kind of like start. It was basically a way for me to figure things out.
Yeah.
Because for me to like put something out there and to feel good about it, like, there's some early blog posts where I'm like, ooh, like, I can't believe I wrote that, put that on the internet.
Yeah.
Just for like the writing quality. But I'm like, I have really evolved since then. But so it was kind of partially that. And then I also, as someone who is a fellow foodie who loves cooking, I just a sort of creative space. So I have like a whole archive of recipes over the years, but also just like, I've just really been like blogging mostly about intuitive eating, non-diet approaches, nutrition from a non-diet approach. Like, I think after as much fun as I had developing the recipes for the cookbook, I got a little bit burnt out on like recipe development doing it.
Yeah.
It was just a lot of like, ooh, it was on a short timeline. I was like, I'm a little bit done.
Hey.
So yes,
We get it.
Yeah.
What the body?
We get it.
Yes.
Very much that. Yeah.
So it's just really a fun place to explore, these smaller topics within, health at every size and intuitive eating and all that.
Yeah.
Lovely.
So I'm sure we'll have a lot of people that listen to this podcast. We're manifesting, right?
Oh, bajillion.
There's going to be millions of people, but probably some of them will be parents. And my question for you is, Mom, I love you, but we didn't do. My poor mom's going to be like, I'm never going to listen to your fucking podcast again.
Your mom's amazing.
My mom is amazing. My mom did great. My mom, we didn't have I didn't know Jell-O, what Jell-O was till I was 12. I didn't know you could make pancakes from a box until I went to college. Like, my mom was Betty Crocker, homemaker. We grew our own vegetables. right?
Wow.
It was the things. But that left a lot to be desired when I went to college, and didn't really know that, like, I didn't have to clean my plate, and I didn't really. So, like, what is the long and short of this very long-winded question is, if you could give advice to parents about how they talk about food with their children, what would that be?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yes. Okay. So so I'm not a parent myself, nor do I plan on being one, but I do really,
Us either.
really love, yeah, woohoo. Child
Oh,
Woo,
especially.
woo.
all the free ladies.
We'll be the really hot aunties in the back room. It's okay. It's good.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Rich auntie energy. I think
Yes.
it's like a Instagram account, but yeah. So basically, like I think the biggest thing for parents to remember is that like your responsibility in feeding your child is really creating like this flexible structure around food. Like you want your child, like they can't like whip up a meal in the kitchen, or if they
Right.
maybe they can, it's like a peanut butter sandwich or something, but for the most part, like you're the one who is sort of responsible for the food procurement, the food preparation.
Right.
And so your child really needs to build up some trust that like enough food will be available to me, enough pleasurable food that like I like creating this sense of food security in the environment. So yeah, we have to be flexible because like, life happens, and like we don't necessarily need this like rigid eating schedule to, make sure kids are fed well, but like they do need to have some sense of like, I am not going to be hungry, or I am not going to be deprived of food. So
Yeah.
I think a lot of how we talk about food with children wants to be grounded around that, but also really talking about it in a nice, like a neutral way. Not talking about foods as good or bad.
Right.
I really love, there's two books. Like one of them is How to Raise an Intuitive Eater. That's like a really fantastic resource I recommend for parents. And then I haven't actually read it yet, but I know because I know the author, and her work is amazing. And I just like, it's just lovely and nuanced. But Fat Talk by Virginia Soul Smith. And so I think those are two really wonderful resources for parents out there.
I love that. Thank you for saying that, because obviously that's why we're having people like yourself on this podcast, is just creating some normalcy around how bodies are
Joy.
and different, and not really knowing where to look or where to even start as a parent. I'm sure it can be scary because
You have your own implicit bias and the
Yeah.
way you were raised. I was raised on Spam and hot dogs, and
yeah.
I mean,
Look, you made it.
Yeah.
I'm here. I didn't.
Alive.
Yeah.
You're alive.
I mean,
Yeah. There's a TikTok account. There's actually a few, and they
Yes.
are dietitians that there's a lot of play around food for kids, and watching that really healed some part of my fragmented inner child in a way that I didn't know it could. But all they were asking is to just interact with the food, and you can touch it, you could taste it, you could feel it, you could like feel what the texture is.
I love that.
And I was just
that.
like, whoa, I didn't know my little girl inner child needed that.
Yeah.
Of like, you don't have to consume it to engage with it, but I just need you to engage with it. You don't have to like
Interesting.
it, but you might find something about it that you do like by doing any one of those things. And I just was like, my sweet little girl was like, oh, that feels really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why
It's
whipped cream
really
is
cool.
so fun.
Yeah. Like there's so much fun around food.
Yeah, for sure. So who are your people? Who do you look up to? Who are your people that give you energy in life?
Oh my goodness. Like within the field or just in general?
That is an open
or-
question. You can
Oh my
interpret.
goodness.
Interpret how you want.
I feel like, when people win an Oscar and they like get up there and they're like, oh my God, I have so many people to thank. And I
Yes.
think of like,
Yeah.
I don't want to leave someone off.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think like at the end of the day, when I think about the work I do, I just feel really, really honored and privileged to, sit. What am I trying to say? Like, I feel like I'm able to do a job that is really fulfilling, and I would not be able to do that without, the fat activists out there who've who've created this space, and created the space and started these conversations. And so I think about people like all the way back to like Deb Burgard, who's like, a fat activist and therapist who, has been doing this work since like like the 80s or 70s or something like that. I think of people I've learned from like Virgie Tovar, who just is like really fantastic.
She's going to be on next month.
We're
really?
so excited.
So excited.
Oh my goodness.
They've completely changed my projection in life. I'm very excited.
Yeah. I mean,
Did I say the wrong pronoun?
No, I just, they for me is safer.
Okay.
I use humans and they a lot. No, don't apologize. It was just my way of unlearning that we don't know.
That's fair.
I believe in their profile. I believe it is she, her.
I think it is she, her. Okay. Sorry, we hijacked your Oscars. Go on.
Oh, no, you're fine. Yeah, I was even just thinking of like, Lindy West. And I feel like I have to look at my like bookshelf behind me to make sure I'm thinking of, oh my goodness. Oh, yeah, like Sonia Renee Taylor, like Body is Not Apology. Like, I feel like that was one of those books that just like reading it, like body image stuff. We're not trained on this in school to become a dietitian. And it just like helped me like, I don't know, just like help form the pathways of like how a new way to think about body image, a new way to relate to it. Yeah. So, so that's just, the short of my, my Oscars.
We love that.
We love that. Yeah.
Sometimes it's people's kids or mom or dad. Sometimes it's somebody who's like, we like that open-endedness because it's whatever sings to you. Yeah.
But that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah. No, we love it. We love it. Yeah. If you could go back and tell your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be?
Ooh, those purple glasses are really stupid. I was talking about my purple glasses with friends yesterday. I was like, God, why did I wear this? It's so embarrassing.
Oh my God. It was awesome. That was the best one yet. Yeah. That was amazing. Oh, fuck those purple glasses.
I would step on the glasses, but no, I think I would really like, I wish growing up, I wish I could go back and tell myself like the special things that I see about myself as an adult. I think it's so normal, like when we're young, to just be like, there's nothing great about me. There's nothing special about me. And I just like, wish I could go back and tell little Rachel, like, no, like you're a pretty rad person.
Yeah.
So, that's
I love that.
what I would do.
Also ditch the purple glasses, Rachel.
Yeah, also that.
Look, we were showing photos the other day, and I had a kick with cargo pants and button-down shirts for a solid bit of my life, and I cannot remember if it's because I felt like I loved them or it was the only thing that fit. And I don't know that answer, but I would do the same thing. Those cargo pants. Go back to the overalls, little girl.
I need all those pockets.
The cargo pants. They were so bad. And like, why? Just like, why?
Yeah.
The perm, and I had the curled bangs with the fluff, and you spray them to the triangle. Don't fuck around. Don't make me bring a picture.
We are bringing pictures on one of these. We are going to do a recap of baby Jess and Caitlin. I cannot. So what sets your soul on fire in the next, 5 to 10 months? What's something project-wise that you're like so excited about you could just burst?
Yeah. Well, I think the thing I've been most excited about, I brought like my associate dietitian who's been working with me part-time. I brought her on full-time, and she's just like, it's so much fun. She's actually, so I moved from South Carolina to Boston 2 years ago, and she's been sort of like part-time running that practice. And she was on like maternity leave and kind of came back. And so anyhow, I just like, I love, like, she is just like so smart and, caring and compassionate, and just like, I really love like the mentorship aspect of this job. And I do like supervision with other dietitians too, but that's been really like the project that I'm super pumped about.
Oh, congratulations. Great. That's a big step.
Yeah. It's a big step. I'm really happy to have her.
That's where you're going next.
Yeah. We just
hiring.
As I forgot a meeting later today, I'm like, it's time to hire somebody.
Spiral McGee needs some help.
Look. The twitching eye doesn't give it away. I don't know what will today. But yes, no, that's a big step. That's a big scary step.
Yeah.
And it doesn't need to be.
Well, and she found someone great. That's exciting.
I know.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
I have like major trust issues that I realized like bringing someone on, I was like, oh, I like that's like the scariest thing. And
Yeah.
she's just someone who I like trust so much with my clients because I just want to make sure they're getting like the best care possible. So yeah, so that made it less scary.
I
Lovely.
love that. I love that. Yeah, I think that's partly my fear too.
Yeah. This was great.
This was so great. So how do people find you?
Yeah.
How do they connect with you?
Yeah, probably the easiest place is on Instagram. So I'm the most active there. Although a lot of my activity is like sharing pictures of my dog, who's very cute.
We love it.
Same.
Yeah, her name is Rose. She's a Bernese Mountain Dog. I know everyone cares about that, but
We do.
We do.
We're your people.
100%.
No kids, rich auntie vibe, and we're dog people. So you found your people.
We should drink wine together sometime.
yes. Oh, there we go. Complete the trifecta there.
Yep.
Yes. So I'm at Rachael Hartley RD, and it's Rachael AEL. And then on my website, that's the other place I'm pretty active. It's just RachelHartleyNutrition.com.
Yeah.
And I kind of share a new blog every. Oh, and my book. Yeah, and my book is one place.
Definitely need to
Gentle
cop this book.
Gentle Nutrition. And you
and
can
I-
get it on Amazon.
I wrote all sorts of notes in this
Yep.
one
Oh yeah.
because A, I just really loved it, but B, why not? It's mine. But definitely go buy this book.
Yes.
This is a must.
I don't push stuff. We don't push
No,
stuff
we
we
don't.
don't like. So
We don't. But
Buy the book.
Buy the book.
then make the recipes.
This feels super empowered and
Thank you.
and homey.
Yeah. Safe.
Like safe.
Joy.
Yeah, it's hard. Like safe is a weird word for me because
That's
like
fair. You mentioned
I
that.
say this all the time, but like I don't know what makes somebody else feel safe. It makes me feel
Right.
safe, but it does make me also feel empowered. And I feel like you have to feel safe to feel empowered. So I usually use the word empowered, but
Okay.
this book also made me feel safe.
Yeah.
I don't know if it will make other people feel safe, but it made me feel safe. So,
I'm so happy to my friend who sent you over to me to get us to this
Yes.
place because I think it was definitely not an accident.
no,
Oh
I
my
fangirled
goodness, I'm so
hard.
grateful.
Yeah.
Yeah, started reading this book. I'm like, we get to talk. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Yeah, no, it was so good. It was so
Oh,
good.
Thank you guys so much. That makes my day to hear. I'm just really appreciative. Love being able to meet new people and have these conversations. So
Yeah.
This is super fun.
Yeah,
Good.
and it'll find the right people. The right people will hear it.
Yep.
The right people will hear
Good
it.
vibes.
For sure. Well, thank you so much for being on With the Body. We really just can't thank you enough.
Yes. Thank
And
you. Thank you. Thank you.
Make sure to subscribe and like the page to get notifications.
Yeah. More fun stuff.
More hard questions.
Yeah.
And hard hitting
We
conversations.
might do this again.
Yeah, we might have you back. We might.
Oh, I would be more than happy to do that.
Yeah. We'll meet somewhere and I'll bring our dogs.
Yes.
That sounds lovely.
Oh gosh, my
God.
little old lady. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you guys for having me.
Okay. Bye.
Thanks.